Hello there and welcome back to a new video. So as Indians from childhood we learn that caste system originated from the Varna system mentioned in the ancient Hindu texts like the Rig Veda. We don't have clarity on where the jatis came from, but the Varna system is basically four categorization or class divisions in the society based on occupation. And they are the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. But it's also true that most caste groups or subcastes have no idea exactly where they come in this Varna system. So basically we have a lot of confusion amidst all this clarity. We live in a society where we know exactly if we are upper caste or lower caste. But then if you ask where do you rank in the social stratification, you don't know. Or which Varna you belong to. So in that context, let's look at the origins of caste system. When we talk about the origins of caste system, it's not like we have a clear picture on where this all began. Rather, what we have are theories, sometimes backed by empirical data and sometimes not. And that is what we will explore in this video. In my last video, I had talked about how the British, the colonial rulers, misused the Varna system, the Varna Jati system, to create the caste system as we know it today. So if you are interested to know more about it, please do check out that video. And if you like the content in my channel, please consider subscribing. Well, it goes without saying that I don't have a sponsor yet. But not to worry, I will sponsor my own video. More precisely, my book will. This is the first book that I wrote. It's a realistic fiction novel about four teens in a city enmeshed in a life of drugs, love, violence and chaos. A tale of isolation and desperation one feels among known strangers in an unknown city. Well, this book is available on Amazon and Flipkart. The links will be in the description. I will also share the link to the video trailer of the book. So check them out. And now back to the video. The theories on the origin of caste system can be divided into two main perspectives. The first perspective focuses on the ideological influences on caste system. It basically says that caste system was created out of the Varna system mentioned in the Rig Veda and the Manusmriti, which is once again inspired from the Rig Veda. So they basically says that the caste system is deeply entrenched in the ideology of Hinduism. But then the second perspective focuses on socio-economic factors and the political factors. They basically says that caste system is dependent on the resource availability, on the socio-economic factors and the rulers or political administration at the time when the caste system was created. And they also believe that because it is based on the socio-economic factors, the caste system is always evolving and adapting to the new socio-economic and political structures. They focus on the historical evidence from ancient, medieval and modern India, that is pre-colonial and colonial India. The Indo-Aryan migration happened after the decline of the Indus Valley civilization, and the Indo-Iranians who were once settled in the BMAC civilization or region came into the Indian subcontinent, bringing their languages and culture along with them. And the Rig Veda is supposed to have been composed within the time period of 1500 to 1200 BCE. So in the Rig Veda, there is the mention of the Aryas and the Dasas, which led a lot of historians to claim that the Varna system was created from this distinction of the Aryas and the Dasas. And these historians also include ethnographers and colonial historians who believed that the Varna system originated from the need of the Aryans or the Indo-Iranians to segregate themselves from the Dravidian or other Indian populations or tribes living here at that time. And some historians also believe that the word Dasa later on became identified with Shudras, and that's how the Varna system came to be. But there is actually not much evidence on that. The king of the Bharata tribe is called Sudas, and he led the Bharatas into victory in the battle of 10 tribes that created the Kuru kingdom, and which laid the foundation for the Vedic period. So there is a Das right in his name. Within the Rig Veda and Manusmriti, the Varna system is not ascribed by birth but by temperament, aptitude, and the duty or karma of the individual. It's not set in stone, it's not something there is lot of mobility, and it certainly is not the caste system we know today. We can only imagine how crucial genetic studies would be for understanding the origins of caste system. So there are two separate research that happened on the origins of caste system that give us a clearer picture on how or when it would have begun. In a report published in the American Journal of Human Genetics in 2013, a Harvard University team said that people belonging to different genetic population of India began mixing about 4,200 years ago. The mingling stopped about 1,900 years ago, and most groups started practicing endogamy. So basically, after the Indo-Aryan migration, there was an intermixing which abruptly stopped. And David Reich, in a previous study, has already proven that most of the Indians had roots in two strains, the ancestral North Indian and the ancestral South Indian. There was also an Indian study conducted by researchers of the National Institute of Biomedical Genomics at Kalyani in West Bengal. They analyzed the genotype data of 367 persons drawn from 20 ethnic groups. The four ancestral groups from which every Indian descended from are the Indo-Europeans, that is North India, the Dravidian, that is South India, the Tibeto-Burman, Northeast India, and Austroasiatic, tribal in Central and Eastern India. So the gene exchange within these four ancestral groups were quite a lot until a point where very strict social norms were put in place, and researchers identify that era to be the Guptan period. With DNA data analysis, the transition from free intermarriage to endogamy took place about 70 generations ago. It goes, so it's your grandfather's 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 grandfathers, it goes a lot. Which means that the Aryan migration theory and the early Vedic period or the later Vedic period doesn't have much to do with the origin of the caste system, but it has a lot to do with very politically motivated social norms of the later rulers in this land. The Varna system could have been very much a part of the Brahmanical ideology, but they were not reflected in the ground practices, which basically means that the socio-economic and the political matters were not greatly influenced by what we call Varna system or the Jati system. The Jatis or the caste groups could move freely within the social stratification, and the relevance and the hierarchy of these Jatis changed from one place to other. And from the first half of the first millennium CE, there was more endogamy, there was more social stratification because of the increasing Brahmanical influence. But even in the Hindu scriptures like Mahabharata or Ramayana, there are clear demarcations along the Varna system, and different clans and Jatis are all mentioned. But it also believed in the oneness of human civilization and the universe. And there is also the idea that an individual could fall down in the Varna system if they fall prey to the impurities of the mind, that are greed, pleasure, attachment, jealousy, and so on. So if you attach yourself with these qualities, your spiritual purity or the purity of your spiritual practice could fall down, and then you would come down a few varnas within your lifetime as an individual. But it's very clear that the kings, the political structure in the land has a greater influence on how the caste system evolved rather than ideology. Throughout the Indian subcontinent, the historical evidence suggests that caste system was not as clearly demarcated or structured as it is today. Historian Susann Bayly claims that the caste system, the elements of the traditional caste system, only became much more evident, at least in North India, in the early 18th century, when the Mughal era was collapsing and the Western power was expanding into the subcontinent. Because when the Mughal period was in its decline, the society was basically in a chaotic period. And the rich elites were siding with different kings, priests, and sages or ascetics who were armed warriors. So people were attaching themselves with very distinct and clearly demarcated with military power or wealth. So that way the caste, class, and community structure became valuable in a place where the state was fragmenting and there was no one power uniting them all. And it was also the time that the Western powers were gaining a lot of influence in the subcontinent. So once India was under the power of the East India Company, they were also siding with the powerful kings, the Brahmanical elites, and the military monks who had a lot of power. And that gave leeway to lot of powerful people to dictate how the social norms and rules were to be in the subcontinent. So it is from this chaotic situation in the post-Mughal era where caste system became much more relevant and a very important thing for the survival of the people. And then the British comes along and they make the caste system the basis of their public and administrative policy. It started from the 1871 census, which was heavily based on caste system. So they began to focus more on these divisions inside the society, which then became much more relevant for administrative and political reasons. Once again, I've made a video separately explaining how the British created the caste system as we know today. So you can go and check it out. And in the comment section of that video, there is an overwhelming response that I am trying to blame the reality of caste system on the British, which is clearly not what I'm doing. I'm just stating the facts based on historical evidences as they are. it is what we can understand from the evidence we have. But be it the Gupta Empire or the Brahmanical influences or the British, it is very clear that the socio-economic, political and administrative policies dictate how the caste system evolved through all this time. The British policies and administration became pertinent in how caste system evolved in today's times, and we should definitely, and it's something that we should definitely come out of through collective action. I am not denying the evils of caste system or blaming it on some external force. The reality of this stratification and inequality is very evident in the Indian population, and it is our duty as individual Indian citizens and Indians to change that and to create a more egalitarian society based on equality, justice and freedom. To understand that we need to change the system, we don't necessarily need to go into the origins of caste system unless it becomes part of the solution. I'm just looking at the historical evidence to know where it began. So that is what this video is about. In conclusion, it could have begun in the Gupta Empire because of political and administrative purposes. So what do you think about the origins of caste system? Please let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree with what I have dug up. And like this video and share it with somebody if you found it interesting. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. Until we meet next time, bye bye.